Not very. End of. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't surprise any of you to know that jail is stupidly violent, and it's getting worse. It never used to be stupidly violent. Never used to be um, like what it is now. I mean, it's unreal now. Gets worse every day. I haven't been there for a few years, but I guarantee you it's worse now than what it was when I was there, and it was terrible when I was there. Obviously, drugs have got something to do with it. The knives that are everywhere in jail now, literally everywhere. Everyone's got one. It's like the street, innit? When they say, I carry one for my own protection. People do carry it for their own protection in prison, and it's a cycle, innit? Because if you've got it, you'll use it. If you've got it, you will use it. That's the conundrum right there, innit? What you're gonna do? Like, you shouldn't carry it because you can't use it if you don't carry it. You know. Uh, but you want it because you're scared, and I'm not. I say scared. You want it for your own protection. Yeah, man. I mean, just to show like how prevalent knives are now. The first knife fight I see in jail involved pens. People had pens in their hands, mate. That was in Aylesbury. I never see anyone with a blade in Aylesbury. Probably people did have them, but it's not like now where everyone's got one and everyone's just willing to show it and display it, and everyone knows you've got it. Yeah, the difference. I mean, you're constantly reading about Aylesbury now and Feltham. I mean, there was fights all the time in Feltham. I was talk about them one at a time. Feltham, I was fighting every other day, getting my ass kicked. Really, I mean, but that's not what it's about. There was no one stabbing me. You know, there was no one whipping out things on me. Well, there was none of that. I got weighed in. I was fighting with my fists. I was getting weighed in with people's fists. Luckily, um, never see one in there now. But I guarantee you now, every other person will have one now. It's all leading somewhere as well, isn't it? Because the jails could stamp this stuff out. But when you're in there, you don't realise it. You don't realise you're being played, mate. They're being played. Eventually, there's no reason for you to come out of the cell anymore. It's too dangerous. We'll feed you at your door. You got a cell, and you got a phone in your cell. You got a shower in your cell, which will come eventually. See ya. We'll let you out when your time's up. That's what eventually it'll come down to. But yeah. Aylesbury, like, everyone was robbing each other in Aylesbury. There was no respect amongst prisoners at all. Everyone was literally out for everything they could get. And considering every other person was a pad thief, including myself, I include myself in that. Everyone hates a pad thief, but in Aylesbury, man, we was all robbing each other. I'm not using it as an excuse and saying, oh, I was doing it, everyone was doing it. Literally, everyone was doing it. That's just the way it was. Again, considering all the running about robbing each other and all that, I never once see a knife. That was obviously about, people have always had them. Just saying, nowadays, it's like an extension of your fist. People pull out their hand out their pocket, and they've got a razor blade in a toothbrush and a razor blade between their fingers. It's like an extra, literally like an extra finger. The knife problem, and it is a knife problem, isn't it? People sell them now. People sell them. People just yeah, they're worth dough, aren't they? You can buy a lot. What can you buy a lock knife on road for? I don't know, 20 quid. Guarantee you it can go around 150, 200 in jail. Guarantee. You know what I mean? Wrap something in electrical wire. Allegedly, you're not setting off no metal detectors if you've got it wrapped in electrical wire. Probably wrong with that anyway. I mean, yeah, it used to be. People would have a tail with their fists in it. Do you know when you see, like, I say a gang fight. I'm only saying a gang fight. I'm not saying because it's two separate gangs fighting. Do you know when you see like a group of people fighting and a group of people fighting, it usually go off on the yard or something, or on the wing around the pool table. years and years ago, people would be flying about, busting each other up. Someone might have a tool, might. One person, like the lunatic out of the bunch, might have a tool or whatever. But now you can guarantee if that gang fight goes together, you can guarantee that when it all gets pulled apart, and fights only last 10 seconds in jail, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. The first 2 punches is usually the winner. You guarantee once they get pulled apart, there'll be someone with a big old thing down his face. Guarantee it. It's just the way it is now. Just the way it is now. Knives just ain't used prisoner on prisoner either. Prisoner on prisoner either, are they? I've seen 2 different people, 2 separate times, 2 separate jails, 2 slash their own throat. One because they was drunk, and I don't know why the other one did it. That's violence. If you're witnessing it, innit? That's violence. Violence to yourself, full stop, innit? But you look at it, that's violent. You ain't got to see 2 people fighting to see violence. I mean, yeah, 2 people slashed their own thing. The amount of people I've seen do that is unreal. Unreal, man. I couldn't even tell you a number. And the amount of self-harmers as well. Just the self-harmers that just do it everywhere. Mate, hundreds. That's all violence, isn't it? Seeing people walking about with smelly old scabby wounds all over themselves. The drug thing comes into it, doesn't it? So much drugs now. People will do anything for a bit of spice as well. Go and do him, go and not throw hot water on him, go and do this, go and do that. People will do anything for it. Yeah, and the drugs thing. Drugs have always been in prisons. Imagine that. Prisoners want to take drugs. People in general just want to take drugs. The human population have always found ways. I've always thought that. Who were these first people years and years ago? Years and years ago, we're living in the forest. We're worrying about hunting fish and picking berries, and someone's gone, hold on a minute, if we let that fruit rot, they won't get off our nut when we drink that. Who's fault of that? People have always just wanted to get buzzing, didn't they? That's what it boils down to. Yeah, years and years ago, jails would be full of weed, puff, and B, Subutex, which is like a blocker for heroin, Subutex, but people sniff it and it gets you buzzing like you've taken heroin. Yeah, so yeah, that's what jails are full of back then, and they're all downers and chill outers and sit back and relaxers. Yeah, I mean every other person does it now. Every other cell will be shot in nowadays, and it's spice, and spice is just as addictive as crack, mate. Even more so, man. And people will act out on it as well to get it. So that adds to the violence. That adds to the fear factor of what jails generally are now. I've seen. If you're just going to talk about what I've seen, violence. I've seen numerous times. You walk past a cell door, and there'll be people fighting. That's violence, isn't it? Fighting. Numerous times I've seen people spark out on the floor with a group of people jumping off of beds and chairs and onto him. That's extremely violent, isn't it? I see a geezer in Bedford. Yeah, out on the landing during soc. Someone owed him dough. Literally punching this geezer a bits on the landing, yeah. And the geezer just stopped fighting back eventually. He got punched to death. I mean, it didn't kill him. Like I said a minute ago, fights happen 5 seconds. Fights last 5 seconds in prison. Not in here in Bedford at this specific fight. Geezer just eventually punched him in so much that he couldn't fight back, and he owed him money. Yeah. And I used to tick things off this geezer, and I always paid him. Eventually, just started biting chunks out of his face. Bit the tip of his nose off. This is during soc on the exercise. on the landing, yeah? Not hidden, not in the shower, not in the cell. Out on the landing, the screws are there like, well, who's going to hit the bell? Too scared to do anything, because this geezer, he was an IPP as well, and the IPP sent him mad. The IPP sent him mad. He got an IPP when he was a kid, and I met him like 12 years later. Bit this geezer's face to bits, bit his nose off, tip of his nose, and just punched him until his face was a bloody mess, and the screws just stood there and did nothing. I've seen a screw get hit so hard in Pentonville. I've talked about this before, I think. The geezer running past him. The screw was running that way, and the geezer was running that way. Like, so, say, I think there was an alarm going off or something, so the screw's running to the alarm. Mate is running onto the wing. The screw's running off the wing. Mate is running onto the wing, because it's like movements. Just, mate, he just run into the punch. Wickedest punch you've ever seen. And I'm just saying it because it was a screw that got it. I've been saying this about any punch. It's one of the best punches I've ever seen. And I'm not saying it was, I'm not bigging it up or saying, oh, I'm so happy that I see this screw get hit. I'm just telling you, it was one of the wickedest punches, clean hits I've ever seen. They were just running, and the screw was not expecting it, and the geezer went. This geezer ended up in healthcare after the screws. Well, listen, mate, I'm not even. If you do that to a screw for no reason as well, yeah. And listen, the geezer didn't like the screw. The screw was a bit of a donut and a bully, yeah. But the geezer was coming back onto the wing. They hadn't seen each other for 3 hours. Time don't move on for you when you're in jail, does it? You know what I mean? This geezer was holding a grudge against, and this was one of them screws that he was always about in your face, trying to get involved. Always wanted to be the first when the bell went off, and this traumatized him, and he had to have a lot of time off after this. Hit him so hard that his teeth just went off in a million different directions. You see, literally, I was standing like that on the landing, looking down. Wasn't even expecting. I was just watching people coming onto the wing and watching the screws all run off. Mate, teeth just went, and this screw hit the deck, got up, hit the deck, got up, hit the deck, like a wildebeest, like newborn wildebeest, getting up and falling down, got to learn to walk quick, otherwise he's gonna get eaten by the lion. This geezer, mate, was all over. I've seen countless people get hit with tins of tuna in a sock, batteries in a sock. Mate, that does some damage. You hit someone with something in a sock. So I see the one in the shower. Geezer just walked in as the geezer was coming out. Geezer was in his, like, the geezer was just soaking wet, getting dry. You're totally vulnerable when you're like that, ain't you? The geezer just come in the shower and whopped him straight in the eye. It's like hearing metal on metal, hearing that hit the bone. Ding! Like, mate. I've seen someone like talking through the door as I'm standing at my door, talking to someone through the door, and I'm just talking away to the person, and the person's just disappeared, and all of a sudden this thing just clonked him in the face. Like, say I'm talking like through the door, that's the flap of the door, yeah. It's like a spy flap, yeah. So if from the outside you can open it up and it's a glass, so the person on the outside can talk into the cell door, yeah. I'm just talking, the geezer just disappeared out of sight, mate. Got donked with a sank in a sock, straight in his face. I'm like, mate, he was there, started giving it like, right, you owe me this, you owe me that, and just walked off. Mate, it was like someone drops one of those weights from above, just onto his head, just took him clean out. He weren't expecting, he was just talking to me, weren't even looking at it. Just donked him clean on the head. These are not rare things. These happen all the time. Like I said, they happen with more frequency. And I haven't been in jail since what, 2016 or 18, 17, 2017, 18. I guarantee you it's worse now. Guarantee it's worse. A million times worse. Oh, excuse me. Not 18, about 2016 I've been out. When you're living with that on the wing, it's a stress you don't even know you've got on your head as well. until you get out and you realise how calm things are. And that's when people do suffer from PTSD. I've got a friend, a good friend, that suffers from PTSD because of all the time he's done in prison. I'm not saying poor him. No, he's one of the most prolific burglars you're ever going to meet in your life, yeah. But the amount of bird he's done is giving him PTSD because all the things he's seen and beefs when you're having beefs in jail and this and that. It's a stress on your head that you don't realise you've got. And but yeah, because people say PTSD is like, and you think of a soldier in a war zone, and it's sort of similar. It's a stress not saying your life's at risk every day in jail, but you're coming out, especially if you're in a remand jail, where people are coming and going, like where people get sent on remand constantly. Imagine coming out onto landing every day, not knowing if you're going to have beef every day, who you're going to see, what new face you're going to see, and that's going to be every day. So you've got to have your blade on you, because you don't know you're going to see. You've got no intention of using it. You've got no intention of using it until you have an intention of using it. Yeah. So you've got that on you. Every single day you're worrying about coming out. Not worrying about, but you're thinking who you're going to see. That's why you got it. Go out into the yard every single day. New faces on the yard. Who you're going to see. You're going through movements with the jail. In the jail, you've got to go from A to B. Who you're going to bump into along the way. It's a stress that you don't realise that you're living with until you get out, and it's like, oh mate, a weight's off your shoulders. But sometimes you can't shake it off. You're still acting like that. I've done that. You're out and I'm acting, I've been rude and I've been all confrontational with people, and you're just like, chill out, calm down. Like, your bird's done. It's not done up there though, is it? Yeah, especially when you've done loads. Like, and again, I'm not saying poor prisoners. I'm just saying, like, this is just the reality of it. Yeah, you're living with that every day on your head, and you're working like you. People say, well, if you see it, it don't really matter, does it? It's not really affecting you. But if you're seeing blood and guts and gore, and it's literally every day, like all the time, people trying to commit suicide and walking about with bandages around their throats because they've cut their own throat, and you've heard whispers about mate you on the other wing getting abused by someone, and mate, and it's, you know, and the geezer you was talking to is not here no more. Like yesterday, is just strung up me. So it's all violence, isn't it? That's all violence. It's not always fighting amongst other people. And you know, bullying's a form of violence, isn't it? Verbal violence. You know, you haven't got to beat the shit out of someone to scare the life out of them or take their stuff off them every day. It's all a form of physical sort of bullying violence, isn't it? The threat of violence is sort of violence, isn't it? Really. Like, I'm not saying it's as bad as, but it all adds up to a not very nice, violent place, which prison is, man. And you know, people might be saying, "Oh yeah, well, what prison's violent? Oh, how did you come up with that one?" The fact, like, what I'm trying to say is, it never used to be as violent what it is now. It's out of control now, and I think it's only leading to one place. Eventually, they're going to say, "There's no need for you to come out yourselves." I'm thinking how much money they'll save when that rule eventually happens. Screws that'll be getting sacked. You know, education that's not no more, all because people can't hold it down and let go of their ego a little bit and not worry about what strangers are thinking about them. If you enjoyed that, hit the subscribe and we'll chat tomorrow. Adios.